Hello, and thanks so much for giving me the opportunity of sharing and learning with you. It is fascinating to me seeing the developments of the human rights system of ASEAN. And I sincerely wish I were there with you to better understand what are the challenges that you have ahead, what are the beliefs and the dreams that motivate you all in pursuing the development and the strengthening of your regional human rights system. I am invited to address the cross-regional advocacy agenda in strengthening human rights systems, given my experience as a human rights advocate in Latin America. As many of you know, I'm the director of the Center for Justice and International Law, CEGIL, el Centro por la Justicia y el Derecho Internacional, which is a regional human rights organization that works in the Americas. We were established in 1991. We had our founding meeting in Caracas, and after that 4 offices were established in Argentina, in Brazil, in Costa Rica, and in Washington, D.C. to pursue the use of the Inter-American system as a catalyst for human rights change and for social justice in the Americas. We were created by a very diverse and interesting group of human rights defenders that inspired the establishment of this institution and keep on inspiring our work. We litigate cases about endemic human rights violations in our region, and they cover a broad range of issues. And we do it with NGOs and human rights defenders from different countries of the hemisphere. We were instrumental in contributing to the passing of the law on violence against women in Brazil through the Maria da Penha case, which is well known to many in the human rights community. We also litigated the case of Barrios Altos along with the Coordinadora Nacional de Derechos Humanos, APRO, the IDL, and other human rights organizations from Peru, and that case developed the jurisprudence on amnesty laws and crimes against humanity in the Americas, and was instrumental in overturning the amnesty laws that limited the possibility of prosecuting persons that were engaged in torture and massacres in Peru, but it also had repercussions elsewhere. Since early on, the institution that I work for realized that our work also had to involve some work in strengthening the ways in which the Inter-American system itself worked. And we established a continuous dialogue with the organs of the system, and we did many things in order to pursue that goal. As a result of that work, and because of the synergies amongst different actors, state actors, members of the system, their secretariats, the human rights community, the system is much, much stronger now than it was 20 years ago. And I will then go on to explain some of the strategies that we follow as civil society organizations, and specifically from CEGIL, in order to strengthen the system of human rights protection for the Americas, the Inter-American system. First of all, we worked with the organs of the system itself. We work with the members of the Commission and the members of the Court. Civil society can do a lot through dialogue and interaction with the organs of the system themselves. They can bring different views, they can help create a platform so that victims and academics and vast sectors of our societies can access and can have a voice in what the priorities should be for a regional system of human rights protection. In our dialogue with the members of the system, we pushed for procedures that would be more responsive to the needs of victims and to those that are the most excluded. We asked the system to address needs of victims or sectors of our community or sectors of the population that were often overlooked. And I have to say, for example, that when CEGIL was created in 1991, the Inter-American Commission, for example, didn't pay that much attention to the rights of women or the rights of children specifically. So the work of NGOs and academics helped bring the need of addressing those very important issues that are, of course, at the center of the human rights protection in ASEAN as well. We also pushed in those dialogues for the development of clear legal standards of protections, clear legal standards that would develop, that would help us understand what was the core content and the limits of different rights: the right to life, the right to freedom of expression, the right of association, and many others. We also pushed for the development and the use of tools to address systematic problems in our region. We thought that the case system was important as it was established in the Inter-American system, but it was also important to address more systematic violations through other tools. The Inter-American Commission had a history of doing country reports or reports on different issues, and we supported those actions of the Commission and gave a lot of information in the through the human rights community, so that the Commission could develop reports and actions in different situations and issues. This dialogue between the Inter-American system, organs, and civil society is key and has been very important in the development of the Inter-American system. That has happened through informal and formal channels, and I think that it is also important for the development of other human rights systems. I've seen it in Africa, in Europe, and I know that in ASEAN this is a concern and a priority that needs to be thought through to ensure that the system that has been recently created also benefits from that dialogue and interaction. Another important area of work that we developed in CEGIL, beyond this important dialogue that we had with the members of the Commission and the Court, was working with states and the different branches of power of the governments and states in our hemisphere. Why? Because a lot of the strength of human rights protections depends on this interaction, of this articulation of the protection that is granted domestically with the protection that is granted and the promotion of human rights that is done at the regional level and at the international level. So, among other things, we encourage different branches of the state, the judiciary, the executive, the legislative, to have a very vibrant dialogue with the organs of protection of the Inter-American system. We pushed for tools and mechanisms for incorporation of standards at the domestic level. So, on the one hand, we were working with the Commission and the Court so that they would develop better standards, let's say, on violence against women. And on the other hand, we were also working with the judiciaries so that they would incorporate those standards in their decision-making processes, that they would incorporate those standards in their jurisprudence, that they would take it into account and dialogue with those standards in the different work areas that they had in their trainings, in their resolutions, and the establishment of institutions in the administration of justice. We also advocated for mechanisms for the execution of the judgments of the Inter-American Court and of the decisions of the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. We addressed states so that they would finance the system adequately. This is also key for the functioning of any system. Those systems have to be adequately funded so that the members of those systems and their secretariats can carry forward their very important mandates. We also got engaged in the discussions of human rights conventions. That is a very important and foundational piece of any system and mechanism, and I think is an important possibility to impact very broadly the workings of the different regional mechanisms or international mechanisms of human rights protections, to get engaged in those discussions. And it gives a very interesting platform as well to work with different individual states. We also got engaged in pushing for selection processes of the members of the system that would, for example, take into account diversity, that would take into account gender, that it would take into account different backgrounds in terms of having a background in the common law, or in continental law, which is a big issue in the Americas. We wanted to make sure that different approaches to the law were also represented in the system. A third area of work that has been very important as well in the strengthening of the system has been our work and engagement with civil society colleagues. Why? Because we believe that this engagement is actually key for the development of the system itself, for its legitimacy, for being well known. And we decided to engage with human rights defenders, with our peers and colleagues and friends in the NGO community, as well as with professors in academia, with judges associations, with public defenders, with intellectuals, with journalists. We did trainings, we did manuals, and I brought a manual here so that you could see. Manuals so that people could use the Inter-American system and had information available. We have a website. We did different types of exercises for thinking about the developments of standards. We did books and conferences and help people interact more broadly with the system. We promoted studies to develop areas of the law. For example, here I have a book on gender-based violence that we did a few years ago. This is in English and it's in our website. We also did a major piece on the execution of judgments of the Inter-American system that has information about different countries. We also did works of more scholarly work on issues such as economic, social, and cultural rights, which is a major concern in our region. This work helped make sure that NGOs and victims would know about the Inter-American system, that human rights defenders would know about the Inter-American system and would use it to promote and protect basic rights in our region. It also helped to make sure that decisions of the system would be known and respected and discussed and used not only by academia but also by the administration of justice system and the bar. It more broadly created a constituency that went beyond the usual suspects of the legal community. In many countries, not all countries, but in many countries in our hemisphere, people in the streets know about the Inter-American Commission and the Inter-American Court and how to access the Inter-American system, though there's still a lot to be done so that everybody has actual access and knowledge of this ultimate instance or mechanism that could protect the rights of individuals and groups from our region. In Sahel, we have a strong belief in collective action. So since the mid-90s, we promoted the establishment of a coalition of human rights organizations and defenders, and also that has people from academia in it, that has been very instrumental in circulating information, in coming up with common positions, in debating issues, and doing joint advocacy before the system, and that has helped us to bring a unified voice in some of the discussions that have not always been easy. For many years, we discussed in Latin America and in the Americas, in different countries of our hemisphere, the ways in which to strengthen the Inter-American system, and we've made major steps in our region. But we've also suffered a big backlash, and now we're in the midst of a big political fight in which the course of how the human rights protection in our region will develop is still not fully decided. In this situation, we also saw the need to reach out to the experiences of other regions. And we've been very much in contact with our colleagues in Africa, with many of you in ASEAN, and with people in Europe to see how the debates on international protection and regional protection are happening in the different regions, and what are some of the lessons and the challenges that we face, what are distinct challenges of our regions because of the shape that our mechanisms have, and the situation of the human rights in different countries. But we are also concerned about how we could better share some of those experiences and papers and documents that we are producing to face these challenges internationally. So one of the steps that we took a year and a half ago is to join forces with some of our friends and colleagues in Africa and learn from them. They had developed a case analyzer that facilitated the access to decisions of the African system, and we followed their steps, and we're developing a system that will be able to dialogue with the African jurisprudence. And we're also trying to work with colleagues in different parts of the world, and obviously in our own region, in bringing ideas and a lot of creativity to the challenges that lie ahead, because we sincerely believe that for the Americas and for the rest of the world, it is healthy, is important, and is crucial for the protection of human dignity to preserve some spaces that work effectively for the protection of human rights. So I'm very sorry that I'm not there with you and that I'm not able to share in person, but I hope that you can that you can find useful some of the experiences that I'm sharing through this video. Thank you very much, and my heart goes to you, and good luck with the conference.